A year after Olivia, the rich, arrogant lady, splashed mud on Amara, the poor lady, Amara's life completely transformed. Amara was no longer just a cleaner. She was a student of hospitality management, a respected member of the VIP team at Starlight Plaza, and most importantly, a devoted older sister to Justina. They lived together now in a peaceful apartment near the city. Not luxurious, but warm, filled with laughter, books, and dreams. Amara had built a life out of resilience, one step at a time. And beside her stood William, not as a secret benefactor, but as an open partner, mentor, and friend. She had found peace. But peace is fragile. And sometimes, the past doesn't stay buried. One quiet evening, as Amara read to Justina on the couch, there was a knock at the door. She opened it expecting a neighbor or delivery. Instead, she found him. Richard. Her father. He stood there, taller than she remembered, his face lined with age and something else, something unreadable. His clothes were worn, his posture stiff, like he wasn't sure whether he belonged there. Amara's breath caught. "You," she said, barely above a whisper. "I read about you," Richard said slowly, looking around the hallway before meeting her eyes. "You're doing well." Amara didn't move. "I'm not your daughter," she replied, voice steady. "Not after what you did." Richard took a small step forward, but she didn't budge. "You think you can erase me from your story?" he asked, his tone almost mocking now. "That's where you're wrong." Amara clenched her fists. "You left us," she said, "when Mom was sick. When I was still a girl. You walked away, not once, not twice, but every single time we needed you." Richard looked down for a moment, then back up. "I made mistakes," he said. "But I'm here now." "No," Amara said firmly. "You're not here for me. You're here because you saw my name in print. Because you saw the word billionaire next to it. That's why you're here." Her voice rose, sharp and raw. "You want to take what's mine, just like you took everything else." Richard's jaw tightened. "You don't get to judge me," he snapped. "I'm your father." "No," Amara said again, louder this time. "You're not. Fathers don't leave their daughters to raise their little sisters alone. They don't watch their wives die while they chase money and pride." She stepped forward, forcing him to look at her. "If you were really my father, you'd walk away now." Quietly. Respectfully. Richard stared at her for a long moment, then laughed, bitter and hollow. "You think this is over," he said. "You think you've escaped me?" Then he turned and walked down the hallway without another word. Amara shut the door slowly, heart pounding. She told herself it was nothing. A foolish visit. An old man trying to stir dust. But Richard wasn't done. The next day, he returned, not in person, but through words. Words printed in a scandalous blog post titled, "The Truth About Amara, the Girl Who Abandoned Her Own Father." It painted her as selfish, ungrateful, claimed she had locked him out while living comfortably off the charity of a billionaire. Worse still, it twisted the truth about her mother, suggesting lies that cut deep. Amara read it in horror. Then came the comments. How could she forget her roots? Looks like money changed her. Where was she when her father was struggling? The whispers spread like smoke, unseen, but everywhere. At work, people avoided eye contact. Some stared. Others whispered behind hands. Even William's company felt the pressure. His reputation was tied to hers now. But the worst part? Justina came home crying. A classmate had shown her a headline calling their mother a name no child should ever hear. Amara held her tightly that night, tears streaming down both their faces. She began to question everything. Was her success worth this pain? Maybe if she walked away from William, from the spotlight, from the life she'd built, the storm would pass. Maybe she should go back to being invisible. But William refused to let her disappear. "She's not yours to take down," he said, reading the article with fire in his eyes. "And neither am I." He made a promise that night, not just to protect her, but to fight with her. Together, they would face whatever shadows Richard tried to cast. Because light, when strong enough, can break even the deepest darkness. The scandal spread faster than fire on dry grass. Newspapers picked up the story. Bloggers twisted it further. Some called Amara a fraud, others questioned William's judgment. And in the middle of it all stood Justina, silent at school, withdrawn at home, struggling to understand why her name was suddenly tied to shame. Amara tried to shield her. She hugged her tighter, spoke softer, reassured her that none of it was true. But the damage had been done. And Richard wasn't alone in this. Behind the scenes, he had found an unlikely ally, Olivia. Once a queen of influence and glamour, she had fallen hard after the mud incident went viral. Her brand collapsed. Her followers vanished. Her sponsors left without a second glance. She had spent months hiding from the world, nursing bitterness like a wound that refused to heal. Now, she saw a chance to rise again, not by telling the truth, but by twisting it. She met Richard in a quiet cafe far from the city center. He brought anger. She brought access. Together, they plotted revenge. They paid a blogger with a history of scandalous exposés to publish a new article, one that would shake Amara's world. This time, the headline was even crueler. Inside the life of Amara, a billionaire's lie or a broken girl's game. The post claimed Amara had lied about her past, that her mother had lived a secret life, that Amara had manipulated William for money, and that she had turned against her own father out of greed. It was all lies. But when pain is fresh and the world is already whispering, lies can sound like truth. William read the article in silence, his jaw tight, his eyes dark with something deeper than anger, disappointment. He knew Amara better than anyone. He had seen her at her lowest. He had watched her rise with honesty, not deceit. Still, the pressure mounted. His company board began questioning their association. Investors grew uneasy. Reporters camped outside Starlight Plaza hoping for a statement. For the first time, William faced a choice: stand by Amara and risk everything, or walk away and protect his empire. He chose her. That night, he gathered every piece of evidence he could find. Messages between Richard and the blogger, financial transactions, even old court records showing Richard's long absence from Amara's life. He didn't go public yet. Not because he feared losing, but because he wanted to show Amara that she wasn't alone. Meanwhile, Olivia played her part well. She posted a carefully worded video on social media, pretending to be a victim herself. "I never meant to hurt her," she said, voice trembling. "I just wish I'd known who she really was before my life fell apart." It was subtle. It was manipulative. And it worked. More people turned against Amara. Then came the final blow. Justina was pulled out of class by a school administrator. A man claiming to be her father, Richard, had arrived early, saying Amara had sent him to pick her up. Justina hesitated. She had never met him before. But he smiled kindly, held out a gift-wrapped box, and told her, "Your sister asked me to take you somewhere special today." Heart pounding, he led her toward a waiting car. No one stopped them. By the time Amara realized what had happened, Justina was gone. Panic surged through her veins like lightning. She called William. He answered on the first ring. Within minutes, his security team was mobilized. Traffic cameras were traced. The car was tracked heading toward an abandoned warehouse area on the edge of town. Richard had planned to use Justina as leverage, to force Amara into silence, to make her beg for mercy. But what he didn't know was that William had already seen the trap coming. Security surrounded the building before Richard could even open the trunk. He was arrested on the spot. Charges: attempted kidnapping, blackmail, conspiracy, and spreading false information. As officers led him away, Richard turned to Amara, standing beside William, her face pale but strong. "This is your fault," he spat. Amara looked at him, no fear, no hatred, only sadness. No, she whispered. This is yours. The city buzzed with news of Richard's arrest. Headlines flipped overnight. Amara's truth revealed, a story of survival, not lies. Billionaire stands by woman framed by her own father. Influencer Olivia changes her tune. Will she ever be forgiven? The storm had passed, but its echoes still lingered in Amara's heart. William wasted no time. Within days, he held a public press conference at Starlight Plaza, standing behind a podium not to defend his business, but to defend Amara. I've known many people in my life, he said, calm but firm. But I've never met someone as honest, as strong, and as kind as Amara. What happened to her was not justice. It was cruelty masked as truth. He shared nothing dramatic, just facts, proof, evidence. How Richard had returned not out of love, but greed. How Olivia had helped spin lies for revenge. How Justina had been used like a pawn in a game she didn't even know existed. And how Amara had chosen peace over power. The crowd listened. The world watched. By the end of that day, support for Amara surged. Messages flooded in, from strangers, co-workers, even former classmates. People who once whispered now spoke up. But not everyone walked away unchanged. Olivia showed up at Amara's apartment one evening, uninvited but determined. She looked different, not glamorous, not angry, just tired. I saw what your father did, she said quietly. I thought we were using you, but it turns out I was being used too. She handed Amara an envelope. Inside were emails, voice recordings, even signed statements from the blogger they had hired, all proving that Richard had orchestrated most of the lies. He wasn't going to share anything with me, Olivia admitted. He was going to take everything, just like he took from you. There was silence between them. Then Amara looked up. You hurt me, she said softly. You made me feel small when I was already trying so hard to stand tall. Olivia nodded, eyes down. I don't expect forgiveness, she said. But I wanted you to have this, so you can prove the truth. And maybe move on. Amara studied her for a long moment, then closed the envelope. I'm not holding on to pain anymore, she said. Not for him. Not for you. That was the last time Olivia came around. With Richard in prison and the truth finally free, Amara could breathe again. William stood beside her through every step, not just as a partner, but as someone who believed in her strength, her resilience, and her future. A few months later, she was invited to speak at a major hospitality conference. Dressed in a sharp suit, standing before hundreds of people, she shared her story, not as a victim, but as a woman who had built herself from the ground up. I chose peace, she said into the microphone, even when I had every reason to fight back. I chose love, even when betrayal was easier. And I chose hope, because that's what kept me alive. Her words echoed far beyond the hall. Later that night, under the quiet glow of the city lights, William took Amara to the rooftop of their apartment building. He got down on one knee. No cameras. No crowd. Just the two of them. He pulled out a simple silver ring. I don't need a mansion or a ceremony to prove how much I love you, he said. I just need you to say yes. Amara smiled through tears. Yes. Their story hadn't been easy. It had been full of pain, betrayal, and darkness. But through it all, they had found each other. And together, they had built something stronger than fear. Something called forever. Sometimes, the past tries to pull us back. Sometimes, the world tries to define who we are. But if you stay true to yourself, if you hold on to love and light, you'll always find your way forward. If this story moved you, like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Because kindness matters. Resilience inspires. and every soul deserves to shine. Thank you for watching.